Back then, there was nothing, until God created the heavens and the earth. If you haven't read the title already, or you're blind, this video is once again about Ultrakill. If you're new to the channel, I currently have 9 parts of my gameplay with my losses and my wins. But now it's time we rewind for a second. Start from the beginning. And no, not of the game, but of the story. Now this video is heavily inspired by Linguini and Lasagna, so please check out their channel. They will probably explain the game way better than me. But without further ado, let's begin. As I said before, God created the heavens and the earth, and of course, humans. Yes, humans, more specifically, and I can only assume to be Adam and Eve. And if you know anything about the story, you know Eve betrayed God's trust by eating the forbidden fruit, thus starting the sins of humanity. Skipping forward, again presumably, thousands of years, God witnesses the evil and sin of humanity that they have committed against him. As in 0-S, also known as something wicked, the terminal at the end of the level states, "Mankind is a failure. Free will is a flaw. Let the evil of their own lips consume them. Then I shall begin again with my word as law." He quickly decides that mankind, as he states, is a failure, and makes the decision to create a new race. One that will listen, one that won't disobey, one that will follow the will of God himself. That part there, free will, is the one thing that humanity took and spat back in God's face. God gave them free will as a kindness, in which humanity gave back that kindness in violence and war. Failure after failure after failure. The results refuse to alter. Again and again and again and again, my faith begins to falter. He tried and tried again, creating new races that would obey, worlds that would erase free will. His faith in humanity, his faith to believe that mankind is able to change, his faith that is lost to the thought of creating such a world with the obedience and lack of free will that he desired. With this, he became tired of his trials. So with what he could do and the anger he held, he had created something that couldn't be undone. Hell. Testament 3. Uncountable cycles of creation wasted. Uncountable formulas for a mind without free will wasted. Damned is man for failing to follow my rule, my word, my law. Damned to the eternity of torture and suffering, the wailing of the gnashing teeth. I have created hell, and I can no longer unmake it. This is something that impacts Ultrakill heavily. As it is stated in many religions, God is believed to be omnipotent and all-powerful, but in this case, in the case of Ultrakill, he is not. He's flawed, just like humans. He's created hell, created the punishment that will forever endure the human race, and now he cannot stop it. Father, why eternal torment? Is it not cruel? Is the torture unending truly a fate fit for a fool? An angel so bright and beautiful asked me this, and I could find no answer. I could not face the guilt for what I have done. My regret, my gnawing cancer. In this testament, an angel is asking God why he had done it, why he had created this torment, in which God wouldn't and simply couldn't give an answer to the angel, for not even himself knew why. Because even God himself, eternal suffering is not fit. The rest of the testament continues. In my hour of weakness, terror possessed me. Then I cast Lucifer too into the infernal den. Once I realized what I had just done, I could only weep as I sank slowly, I can't read this frickin' script, into the depths of despair. Deep, oh so deep. The thought crushes him, and he finds out, we find that not only he was banishing, why can't I read the script? And we find that not only he was banishing humanity, but as well those who followed him, Lucifer. Now, if the angel speaking to him was Lucifer, I'm not too sure, but we'll talk about him later. God was scared. He states that terror possessed me. Not even he knew what he had done, and all he could do was weep. Testament 5. I am hollow. My mistakes leave nothing but hate in their wake, and infinite pain to follow. I can't take any more of this guilt and regret. For me, there is no tomorrow. I am hollow. I begin to seek the end of my days, but when I stare into the abyss averted its gaze. He wants to be gone. He doesn't want to see the destruction he may have caused. He has hit rock bottom, really, regretting every second of his mistakes, and that's all we hear from him, as this is the last testament so far. As seen before, I actually found the entrance for what will be the secret level by accident. I'm gonna go check out the video. So where did he go after this? Well, that's the thing. No one knows. Not even heaven itself. The Council of Heaven was the one to fill in God's shoes. For the most part, anyways. Giving orders and continuing to torment the damned in hell. Now there's one thing that I haven't mentioned yet. The Father's light. Now this light isn't really... we haven't seen much of it. But it seems to be the thing that powers the angels and gives them the strength and the power of a god, I suppose. And without it, they are simply nothing. And we see this when Gabriel's light is stripped from his body and he has no less than 24 hours to live. The council keeps that power and stores it somewhere, either with themselves or in a suitcase, I don't know, and providing it to angels and taking it from them if necessary. With this responsibility, they are obviously the higher ranking angels, one that someone even as powerful as Gabriel bends a knee to. Speaking of, with the authority the council has, it is obvious that with the power they hold over Gabriel, they send him off to do their bidding, even if it means killing someone. Before we go further, let's talk about each layer of hell. First, we have layer 1, Limbo. At first, it seems peaceful, and actually isn't that bad, which you wouldn't be 100% right, but you're not 100% wrong. You see, the layer of Limbo does not provide physical torment, but rather Sisyphus, the mind stuff, in a way. Having those sent to this layer live in eternity with a hopeless longing and desire for God. So, you know, it's not the worst, but it's not the best. Now we go on to layer 3. 2, I can't read. Lost. As the name implies, those who commit the sin of lust are sent to this layer, and are to be whirled around and tormented by relentless, howling dark winds. Well, that's what Google says, I don't know. Layer 3.
Can you just get on with it?
What?
There's like 9 layers, just continue with the story.
Right, sorry. Well, V1 stopped me on the right layer. Lost layer. This layer in Ultrakill isn't exactly what I described, but is rather a huge city where those who are sent there can be at ease. And all this was thanks to King Minos, was the original judge of hell. I say the original for reasons we will get into in a second. He was the deciding factor for where sinners would go and which layer they would be sent to. However, Minos did have some sympathy for humanity, can't read again, as stated in the terminal. He believed loving one another was not a sin permitted to be punished eternally for. With the disappearance of God, Minos decided he would be some form of what? I can't read! He would decided that he would form some sort of paradise for those on layer 2. However, this did not go unnoticed by the council, as what I can assume to be not too long after the completion of his work, the council had sent down Gabriel to cease the doings of Minos at once. However, Minos did not fight back, but rather tried to reason with Gabriel, believing that he would come to agree with him. However, this was not the case, as Gabriel struck down Minos with ease. However, this was not the end of Akin.
Free at last. Oh, Gabriel, now dawns thy reckoning, and thy gore shall glisten before the temples of man. Creature of steel, my gratitude upon thee for my freedom. But the crimes thy kind have committed against humanity are not forgotten. And thy punishment is death.
If the being has enough sheer will, power, and enough of a ranking, for example, King, after death the soul will begin to form into what is known as a prime soul. A prime soul is a being that does not need a husk to survive, and only a handful of beings can begin to form into one. Minos being one of those many few. Prime souls are so powerful and that strong that not even the council dares to come in contact with them. So when they realized Minos was going to form into one, they sealed him away quickly inside the flesh prison for eternity. Damn, that's a long time. However, in his prison was not... Oh, okay, sure, whatever. However, his prison was not an ordinary case. It was sealed away inside his very own corpse. When someone as powerful as Minos is able to form into a prime soul, their husk directly translate that power in size. This is why the corpse of King Minos is, well, that boy big! So sealed away forever inside his very own corpse, which slowly begins to be infested with parasites, all Minos could truly do was watch as this thing destroyed everything he once worked so hard to create. Minos was so distraught and thought only to blame himself for the failure.
Forgive me, my children, for I have failed to bring you salvation from this cold, dark world.
Where Minos fits into the story of what we play, I'm not so sure. Until Layer 9 releases, we won't know. These Prime Souls may not even be a part of the gameplay story, but with Minos'
judgment
out of the way, soon another would rise to challenge the might of heaven.
This prison to hold me.
The King of Greed, Sisyphus. That name will sound familiar, and it should. This guy was a real pusher! I'm sorry. But yes, Sisyphus was the man who tricked death twice, in which caused his punishment to forever push a giant boulder up a steep hill. And each time he got so close to reaching the top, it just rolled back down. I'm not 100% sure, but in 4-1, you can see Husk climbing this pyramid, which may be something similar to Sisyphus' punishment. I'm not too sure, it's just something to think about. Anyways, let's get back to this freaking dude. God, I hate him. If you watch the video, you know I hate this dude. Unlike Minos, he did not care for humanity. or the lust on his layer. The husk on his layer. And he did not care for what punishment they got, as well as his. He did not actually care for his own punishment. It has been days since we last saw any angels without their oppressions. There is no need for us to carry on our punishment. Even the meekest of the damned have abandoned their penance, to take up arms. All can see how they have robbed us of our minds, bodies, and souls, leaving us only the hopes of salvation that will never come, but no longer. This book entry found in 4-2 gives us the details of Sisyphus' plan to gather an army of husks and begin to fight back against the heavens. King Sisyphus has acted in secret until now, amassing an armies whose strengths and numbers swell, but there is no need for us to hide anymore. We have lived in the shadow of heaven long enough to forget the taste of fear. Now the Sisyphean insurrectionists prepare for war. I have heard of Minos beginning a peaceful revolution, but our King Sisyphus knows such passivity. I can't read that one. Will gain no favour from our cruel captures. We know that one can only fight with power. Fight power with power, and he shall lead us to freedom. If only we knew the suffering that would befall us next. And that he did. Sisyphus gathered the Sisyphean insurrections, the big guys with the no head, while the eyes of heaven were no longer on them. It's also known that this was only possible with the disappearance of God and having heaven distracted with figuring out where the frick this dude went. Sisyphus gathered more and more of an army, and soon the council did notice, and just like Minos, Gabriel was sent down to stop this resistance. And just like Minos, Sisyphus was easily taken down, with his head being sliced off. After his death, he quickly and almost instantly began to form into a prime soul once again. I say that like he did it before. I mean like like Minos once again as another prime, whatever. From his pure strength and power. So without thought, the angels quickly and very fast, like without a thought, trapped him within a prison, the flesh panopticon. However, there's a clear difference between the prime souls of Minos and Sisyphus. The big difference being that when we defeat both prisons, Minos is only forming into this prime soul, while Sisyphus is already formed, awaiting his release, making him making him so much making him the strongest prime soul there is, until we learn who or what awaits us in P3. Now let's shift our focus onto something else, something that is much worse than a prime soul. Hell is alive. And I mean this in the most literal way possible. Hell is a living thing in the world of Ultrakill. It thinks and acts upon itself. There's multiple evidence of this being the truth in game. Enemies being teleported to you, doors magically locking and sealing you inside the rooms. It's even stated that when Hell does this, when Hell itself summons these enemies, it does it out of sheer entertainment purposes. Not only can it do these things, it creates copies from things from the real world. A good example of this comes from Layer 7, the Guttermen and the Gutter tanks, replicas of the real things forged in Hell, as is seen what these things have done to humanity and how these creations are one of humanity's greatest sins. Hell is even able to communicate with the player, or in this case, V1, saying things like "feed it" in 7-3, as if you had a choice, when selecting the cross before fighting Sisyphus, when it says, "Are you sure?"
Are you sure?
It's clear that every time Hell is communicating, or every time Hell is speaking, it is shown in red text, even in some of the books. This is the only way it could have ended. War no longer needed its ultimate practitioner. It had become a self-sustaining system. Man was crushed under the wheels of a machine created to create the machine, to crush the machine. Samsara of cut, sinew, and crushed bone. Death without life. No Ouroboros. And all that remains is war without reason. A magnum opus, a cold tower of steel, a machine built to end war is always a machine built to continue war. You were beautiful, outstretched like antennas to heaven. You were beyond your creators. You reached out for God and you fell. None were left to speak your eulogy. No final words. No concluding statement. No point. Perfect closure. This is the only way it could have ended. And this book, this entry, talks about one thing. The war without reason. "1914. That year sound familiar? Well, it should, because this is at the beginning of World War I. The War of Wars, one might say. No one says that! The war that ended in 1990. 1919, sorry. But what if it didn't? Skipping a couple layers in the game, let's go back to layer 7, violence. Specifically 7-2, light up the night. This layer most likely gives the most accurate representation of what the world may have looked like during this time. But I'm getting ahead of myself. What was this so-called endless war? Well, with this world war continuing on, countries soon realised that they could not afford to lose any more men. So with that, they created machines, fueled by blood to fight for them. The first machine was the Gunnermen, which Russia produced. That gave them a heavy advantage. There is one thing that makes these machines so much more horrific. When I said they were fueled by blood, I meant it. On the back of these Gunnermen, you can find a big, bulky coffin. And inside is exactly what you think it is. A decayed skeleton strapped in. Russia would grab volunteers, which in reality were most likely to be enemies they had captured, or even by a slim chance their own men. However, soon came something to counter these machines, the gutter tanks. As the name implies, these were created for the sole purpose of counteracting the Gunnermen, equipped with missiles and heavy hits. How these machines received blood is unknown to me, at least, as I cannot find any info about how they were fueled. However, considering they had a latch on the top, like a tank, I like to believe that they used a similar methods like the Gunnermen and stored captured enemies or their own inside. And now that leaves us with one final machine that was made during the Great War. The 1000 THR Earth Mover. Or Benjamin! And as the name implies, they definitely moved the Earth in a way. Before getting into the depths of an Earth Mover, I'd like to mention that there are two categories for machines. Well, there's obviously like the greater machines, but I like to put them into two categories. First, we have the during war, which consists of the Gunnermen, gutter tanks, Earth Movers, sword machines, mine flayers, and of course V1. Now the second type I'd like to call is the post-war, which consists of I'm not gonna say it yet, you're gonna have to wait and find out. Now, the Earth Movers, developed by Japan, were the machine, the most powerful and most indestructible. However, there was a major difference between the Earth Movers and the other machines. While those were fueled off blood, the Earth Movers fueled off solar energy. Now, in terms of what they could do, they could literally level cities, wielding rods that were able to conduct lightning and shoot a powerful beam, as well as equipped with a fully forced shield around it, protecting it from any harm that may come its way. You'll see in its boss battle while climbing it up, it goes back and forward through a stalemate between another Earth Mover that is far away. With how big and how much of the destruction these earth movers caused, the sky soon filled with pollution. With this, we conclude with the main machines made for the war.
Wait,
What now?
you forgot me, you idiot.
Oh yeah. Right, so with the earth movers being so powerful, and with my personal belief, America soon developed the V model. A slick, slim, and fast machine that could outdo any of its brothers and sisters. Now there's a theory that V1 was created with the sole purpose of taking down the earth movers, and I completely agree with it. As also in its boss battle, when stepping out, it diverts its attack from the other earth mover to you. Now, of course, there were many other machines like the Mind Flayers, the Sword Machines, and the Sentries, but honestly, I have no idea who produced these. Now, you might be wondering, how come there's only 2 V models? Well, in the case of V1, since his creation was made near the ending of the war, his production was cut off from the start of something else. So you know how I mentioned the earth movers ran off solar energy? Yeah, about that. Like I said before, the earth movers produced so much pollution and smoke that the sky was soon covered, and with the sun being fully blocked out, each earth mover slowly, one by one, started powering down. And with that, the war had ended. But soon came a new problem. The earth was so destroyed, humanity wouldn't be able to survive if they continued to live on the surface. So, with quick thinking, they soon built small villages, you could say, on the back of the earth movers. Pretty smart if you ask me. So with the war ended and the humanity coming together, this began. The new peace is, well, peace among the world, I suppose, as they now come together to figure out where to go from here. As life continued on the back of the earth movers, new machines were developed. Remember the second categories I mentioned? This list consists of the street cleaners, the V2, and possibly the drones. I say possibly because obviously they were used more as security, but they could also have been in the war. However, machines from the war were also reproduced just to be used for this new piece. Street cleaners were used to try and clean up the mess and the pollution that the earth movers had made, and for as far as I know, they succeeded. After the failure of V1, the creators didn't want this model to go to waste, which is why they created V2. His purpose is just to protect humans. It's not really stated from what I've found, but just like their brother, the model was failed and never reached mass production. With humanity slowly rebuilding the world, they needed to find a new way to find energy, and with this, they found their way to the entrance of. Wait, didn't we already talk about hell? Well, yeah, we did, but not all of it. You see, there's a tiny little detail I forgot to mention. Hell energy. This is kind of like the Father's light, but you know, it's hell. This energy fuels most of the organic enemies we face off with. Hideous Mass, Mirror Reaper, Leviathan Fish. The list goes on. Even the Earth Mover used hell energy. You can even see some sort of roots at the feet of the machine. With the discovery of hell, humans began to send machines to explore and map out each layer. This is why we can find many types of machines in the game, in hell. Except for the Guttermen and the Gutter Kanks. I have reasons to believe that hell recreated these like it did with the Earth Mover, for the sole purpose of just recreating that war landscape. As the machines explored, humans began to farm off the energy, building a facility just outside the gates. Soon, however, demons began appearing and attacking all machines and humans alike. Hell observed them, learnt from them, creating things that they had created. getting inspiration of them. For example, the mannequins, which Hell took inspiration from the gutter men to make, and even was taking spare parts and fusing them with demons to create such things like the citizens and the soldiers. And with the attacks, soon humanity disappeared, gone, just like that. It's pretty obvious that Hell is the main contender. Whether it was controlling the machines and attacking the humans, sorry about that, I just burped, or by following the path from Prelude and finding a way to the surface. But with that, we now continue to... With all that, we get into the actual game, beginning the opening sequence. Mankind is dead. Blood is fuel. Hell is full. In red text, which once again is most likely Hell directly speaking to V1, and perhaps even convinced him to go through this journey. Going through the first act, we slowly descend through each layer of Hell, fighting through every enemy we encounter. Hideous Mass, dead. V1, beaten. Corpse of Minos, donezo. But this hadn't gone unnoticed.
Machine, turn back now. The layers of this palace are not for your kind. Turn back, or you will be crossing the will of God.
Gabriel, the new judge of Hell. Remember when I said Minos was the original? Yeah, I kind of forgot to mention that when he was killed, the council made Gabriel the new judge of Hell. And with that, obviously, V1 did not listen and continued to go down.
Your choice is made. As the righteous hand of the Father, I shall rend you apart, and you will become an inanimate once more.
Eventually facing Gabriel. After the fight, and his little tantrum like a baby, he returned to heaven. However, the council was not so lenient. Soon we find out that with his failure to destroy V1, Hell would slowly begin to die out, as he mentions in Act 2.
Limbo, lust, all gone, with gluttony soon to follow.
With V1 wiping out the layers, the council needed him gone. And if someone as powerful as Gabriel was bested by a mere machine, he was not worthy of the Father's light. Like we said earlier, the council stripped him of this light, giving him 24 hours to either right his wrong or just simply live. As we as the player traverse going further down through more and more enemies, V2 again gone! For good, hopefully. Ferryman, gone! Leviathan, gone! Soon making our way to see our good old friend Gabriel once again.
Machine, I know you are here. I can smell the insolent stench of your blood-stained hands. I await you down below. Limbo, lust, all gone, with gluttony soon to follow. Your kind know nothing but hunger, purged all life on the upper layers, and yet they remain unsatiated. As to you, you've taken everything from me, machine, and now all that remains is perfect hatred. Machine, I will cut you down, break you apart, splay the gore of your profane form across the stars. I will grind you down until the very sparks cry for mercy. My hands shall relish ending you here and now.
With now being filled with hate, the second battle plays out, ending the exact same way as before. This dude doesn't learn.
Twice, beaten by an object. Twice. I've only known the taste of victory, but this taste is this my blood? I've never known such relief. I I need some time to think. We will meet again, machine. May your woes be many.
With his little time left, Gabriel left again. You see what I did that? I said left twice.
Shut up!
Now in deep thought, what was his purpose? How many had he killed, and for what? With his 2 losses to something as simple as a machine, and with the will of God shattered, he soon put the pieces together. God is dead. He decided that with his death, it would not go unnoticed. As he returned to the council, he drew his blades and slayed each and every one of them, all to send a message to heaven. The final member of the council pleaded with Gabriel, reminding him that without them, he would never receive the Father's light. But what was the point? Gabriel had accepted his death, and with this newfound knowledge, he knew God would not return, and with that, Gabriel had killed the entire council. Layer 8 is the only more of the story we can really gather. With Gabriel's message, angels now roam within the deeper layers, as well as the powers, Gabriel's children, as they call themselves. Angels that were trained by Gabriel himself, and fully blame V1 for his disappearance. Like, dude, what the frick? I didn't even do it. He got himself killed. Inside the layer, we also get a look at what God could have looked like. Well, not exactly, but it's probably close enough. But there's also one interesting thing I saw while doing some research. In the back of this image, we see 2 male structures. This could also, by a slim chance, be the appearance of God. The final thing we find in this layer is a large painting of what I'm going to call the Greater Angels, in which we are able to see Michael, God's wisdom, Thaniel, God's patience, Raphael, God's strength, of course Gabriel, God's will, and the last one, ripped out. Me and many others believe that this missing piece is actually Lucifer, God's love, which would be fitting. Speaking of Lucifer, where is he now? From what I've heard, his body is trapped within the frozen lake of treachery. So we may not even fight him, but that's why I also believe he will not be the final Prime Soul. But I'm not getting into that argument right now. So with that, we finish the story of Ultrakill. I may and definitely miss some things, and for that I apologize deeply, but this is my first real deep dive into a game, so give me a little bit of pity, alright? But I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one.